Tonight, the accused high country murderer says sorry as he tells his side of the story. Police lose their fight to keep an alleged killer driver locked behind bars. Chapel Street in the firing line as Melbourne's underworld tobacco war reignites. Peter Costello caught up in an airport confrontation. Mikey in a mess with new claims the system upgrade is already off the rails. Royal tears as 1 million people pay tribute to our D-Day heroes. And we're live as the Big Freeze makes an early splash. We'll take you there.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. Accused high country killer Greg Lynn has apologised to the families of secret lovers Carol Clay and Russell Hill as he told his side of the story from the witness box. The former Jetstar pilot described how he disposed of their bodies and lied to his wife about the case.
The families of 2 missing campers sat less than 10 metres away as accused killer Greg Lynn took to the witness box, offering an apology as his future hung in the balance. All I can say to the families is that I'm very sorry for your suffering that I caused. I should be punished for what I did. The 57-year-old spent a marathon 3.5 hours on the stand in the 4th week of his murder trial, the defence team's one and only witness. The former pilot demonstrated how he used his Jetstar gloves to clean the horrendous crime scene as part of an elaborate cover-up, and where his hands were on his shotgun, but testified he was innocent of the couple's murder, maintaining they met their fate accidentally in 2 separate struggles. I was trying to get the shotgun off him the first time, and I was trying to defend myself the second time. He detailed his efforts to conceal evidence, saying the whole plan, ill-conceived as it was for me to disappear. I wanted all trace of what happened to be gone with me. Mr. Lynn told the jury he never confided in anyone following his camping trip in March 2020, even lying to his wife, and never considered going to police. When required, are you prepared to be deceptive? The prosecution asked. I lied to my wife to protect her. Didn't you lie to your wife to protect yourself? No. It's a disaster, and it would have been a disaster if I had have gone to police. I never expected to be in this courthouse. Aren't you trained to be calm and rational? The prosecutor asked. I had never been faced with 2 dead people before. I feared that I would be blamed for it. Improper storage of the firearm, which had resulted in the death of 1 person, would be devastating for me. Members of the public queued to watch Mr. Lynn tell his version of events in person for the first time. The public gallery so full, staff had to close it and turn people away. Both the prosecution and the defence have now closed their cases. 49 witnesses gave evidence throughout the trial. Closing arguments are expected to start on Tuesday before the jury retires to consider a verdict. Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
Police have just watched an alleged deadly driver walk free after they lost a fight to keep him behind bars. The 29-year-old is accused of killing a spectator at a burnout competition, crashing a Lamborghini and repeatedly breaking road laws.
In the words of the judge who granted him bail, Bryce Dryden's driving has allegedly been reckless and dangerous.
Bryce, you're going to contest the charges? Bryce, are you going to contest the charges?
The alleged killer driver is free after a month in custody. The judge largely swayed by the support Dryden has from his parents and pregnant partner.
Do you feel you're ready to take this opportunity?
Dryden is charged over the death of Trent Dezoot at the Loose Nats Burnouts at Stawell in November. It's alleged Dryden had taken cocaine and meth before he lost control of a car with faulty brakes and ran over the 18-year-old. After being stripped of his licence, he then allegedly drove a Lamborghini into a house at Ballarat in May. He's also been charged with 3 other driving offences, including driving while suspended. In opposing bail, police told the court, "To me, it doesn't seem like like he follows any rules. The father of two has committed to undertaking treatment for drug use and his mental health. The last time Bryce Dryden applied for bail, he was refused and then attempted to flee police at the court. This time, he'll need to check in with police 3 times a week and not drive on the roads as part of his bail conditions. The 29-year-old is facing charges including dangerous driving causing death. He'll return to court next week. Cameron Bowe, 7 News.
Chapel Street has been dragged into the tobacco turf war again with a firebomb attack on a convenience store. It wasn't the only casualty. The nightclub above it paid a heavy price as it became collateral damage in the underworld stoush.
For more than 2 minutes, the arsonists tried to smash their way in, kicking at the front door of the Chapel Street convenience store, using a weapon to shatter the glass. Then, with a red jerry can, finally making their way in to spread fuel inside and out. One slips on it, but they ignite more than intended. The firebug briefly becomes a victim after ignition.
Just looking at the damage that's been done, it's a lot of money because I make the orders here and I know how much that costs.
It sells American snacks, tobacco too, and is just 50 metres from where a tobacconist was torched in February.
We haven't been doing any shady stuff or anything like that.
Does anyone stand over the owner, ask for money, make threats?
No. Upstairs, a nightclub that's just finished a $150,000 renovation. 250 tickets sold to its relaunch tomorrow night.
It smells bad, smells of smoke. There's no electricity, no water as yet. Fire was on the ceiling, so it'll be structurally damaging the floor as well. And since us being a nightclub, not sure if it can handle the weight of 300 to 400 people dancing on the floor.
That's 2 more businesses closed by Victoria's tobacco wars. Almost 80 have been firebombed in just 16 months as police try to find those in charge of the crime gangs responsible.
They don't see what repercussions it has on other businesses.
It's really bad because most of the people working here, they only have this one job.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
In breaking news, Channel 9 chairman Peter Costello has been caught up in a confrontation at Canberra Airport after a reporter from the Australian newspaper questioned him on a sexual harassment scandal at the TV network.
Well, you've got to answer the questions, Mr. Costello. Don't. You've just assaulted me. Don't.
Mr Costello is in Canberra to open the network's new Parliament House bureau. The MyKey upgrade to allow iPhone and credit card payments is a long way off. It won't be rolled out until next year at the earliest, but the Allen government denies the overhaul is running behind schedule and facing cost blowouts.
MyKey's outdated hold on our public transport system will push into next year. A trial of credit card and iPhone payments will happen sometime in the next 6 months. A wider rollout has no start date.
But we are taking a very careful and considered approach to making sure that we have full confidence in that technology.
5 years since the state government invested in the technology, we're yet to see it. Cities like Sydney and Adelaide already have it.
It's ridiculous that we're lagging behind on iPhone payments, credit card payments.
The state government denies there's been a cost blowout in the contract for the MyKey operator. The 15-year deal is worth $113 million a year, or $1.7 billion.
I can say right now, the contract that was signed was $1.7 billion. It remains a $1.7 billion contract.
The new operator contract was signed with Conduent last year. The company officially took over about 6 months ago.
The $1.7 billion contract awarded to Conduent last year was already well above other bids.
New card readers and gates will eventually be rolled out across the network. Despite the hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars going into it, there's no timeline for when this might happen.
Melbourne's public transport network, it seems to be lacking an airport rail link, frequent all-day metro services and a fully functioning ticketing system, and we don't seem to be any closer to getting any of those three.
Blake Johnson, 7 News.
Shepparton-based food processing giant SPC is cutting its canned fruit production by almost 40% as cost-weary shoppers turn to cheaper imported options.
So the government needs to look at putting some protections in place for our growers. That's the only way I can see us being able to compete with such cheap imports.
Australian fruit growers are calling for import tariffs to keep the local industry afloat. Australia's unions are fighting for more major work reforms tonight, with calls for extra pay and extra leave. The ACTU is considering a push for 5 weeks annual leave and has launched a campaign to scrap lower wages for young workers.
A march towards what unions say is a fairer future. An application made to the Fair Work Commission to scrap junior wages in retail, fast food and pharmacy.
18-year-old rates are very different from 21-year-old rates, yet I'm doing the same job.
In all 3 sectors, 18-year-olds are paid 70% of the minimum wage, 19-year-olds get 80% and 20-year-olds are still 10% short of the adult minimum. The ACTU has backed the move to change it.
Junior wages are a discriminatory relic and they've got to go.
Business groups warning, careful what you wish for.
Well, we think it will be very bad for businesses in removing an incentive to take on juniors.
Some unions are also calling for more annual leave, boosting the national standard from 4 weeks to 5. The ACTU is now considering if it'll support that change as well.
There's no indication of any productivity links there with this proposal.
There are other proposals too around 4-day working weeks. Early retirement ages are another consideration.
It comes on the back of unions securing extra leave for workers at Bunnings, Big W and IKEA.
We're just conscious that it's 50 years since the annual leave entitlement in this country has been lifted.
You know, these matters are usually negotiated between workers and their employers.
Rory Campbell, 7 News.
The Greens Party has been described as evil in the growing political backlash over the war in Gaza. The fallout has prompted leader Adam Bant to threaten legal action against the Attorney-General.
Pro-Palestinian protesters say they're not alone outside Anthony Albanese's electorate office.
Some of the Greens candidates have been here offering support.
Opposition leader Peter Dutton accuses the Greens of whipping up violent protests.
People need to have a conversation with their kids and their grandkids, with their next door neighbours, just about how evil the current Greens party is.
We are a party of peace and non-violence.
Greens leader Adam Bant is threatening to sue Attorney-General Mark Dreyfus for accusing him of
encouraging criminal damage of MPs' electorate offices, encouraging really riotous behaviour.
I think that the first law officer of this country should not make utterly unfounded statements.
On Facebook, Mr Bant has told those marching, calling and blockading, "We are with you." And Greens Senators Marine Faruqi and David Shoebridge have posted about joining the protests at Mr Albanese's office. But of the violence,
Greens MPs have not been involved in that.
Adam Bant accuses Anthony Albanese of complicity in the genocide in Gaza, a charge the Prime Minister furiously rejects.
The Prime Minister is desperate to make it about anything other than the children who are dying in Gaza.
We have called for repeatedly for ceasefire.
The debate now itself weaponised. Mark Riley, 7 News. 1 million people are gathering on the Normandy coast in France tonight to mark 80 years since D-Day. King Charles and Queen Camilla were brought to tears by the stories of the few veterans still alive.
By the English Channel at Portsmouth, royalty and all that remains of the fighting force that changed the course of history.
It is our duty to ensure that we and future generations do not forget their service and their sacrifice in replacing tyranny with freedom.
The King and Queen leading tributes, their Majesties brought to tears. 80 years since the D-Day Armada set sail, more than 160,000 Allied personnel, the beginning of the end of the Nazi stranglehold on continental Europe. The storming of these beaches at Normandy by the Allied troops was the largest seaborne invasion ever staged, and it wasn't just the British and the Americans and Australians arriving by boat, but from the air as well.
They noticed that on his shoulder it said Australia.
In the village of Groin, they remember Flight Sergeant Stanley Black from Melbourne. His plane shot down.
They found him hanging in an oak tree.
The Australian airman's name sits alongside the American serviceman he joined to fight the Nazis after landing here by chance. It's presumed he died in battle.
I want to inculcate to each people that they have to remember what spent there in 1944, because it's very, very important for future.
Liberating villages from brutality. US President Joe Biden will arrive here shortly at the American Memorial at Omaha Beach as services take place right along the Normandy coast, commemorating the sacrifice and also toasting the freedom that was fought so hard for. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will be a special guest of French President Macron. The underlying theme here, in a rapidly changing world, Europe must once again be defended. Mitch.
Hugh Whitfield in France, thank you. Back home, and the countdown is on to Monday's blockbuster Big Freeze at the MCG. Kate Massey is at the Beaconsfield Junior Football Club tonight, and Kate, some footy stars are making an early splash.
Well, they are, Mitch. It is a big night on the Beaconsfield calendar here. Plenty of excitement, as you can see. Hundreds have gathered to show their support for motor neurons disease. It is chilly out here this evening. You can see, though, it hasn't stopped anyone going down this slide here. The highlight, though, this evening are Changuth Jaff and Charlie Curnow.
The big beaky freeze, I think they call it. But, yeah, it's good to see all the senior players go down the slide and some members of the community, so it's great.
Pretty brave, aren't they? It's pretty cold day tonight.
Yeah, it's good. It's nice and cold. Hopefully they make it a bit colder for them.
Very happy to be part of this. I'm just flat that last week I got fined $1,200. I would have loved for it to go here, so I hope the AFL takes that on board and just donates it to such a nice cause.
The countdown is certainly on until the King's birthday clash on Monday between Collingwood and Melbourne. Plenty of excitement here in Beaconsfield. I think we're set for a big night here, Mitch.
It certainly sounds like it. Kate Massey at Beaconsfield, thank you. The teams are in for an intriguing round of footy. Tim Watson, the Bombers and the Blues have made some big calls.
They have, Mitch. It's a special occasion for the King's Birthday Eve clash. Chief Football reporter Mitch Cleary has first access to the official team sheets. And Mitch, there's a fresh injury at Carlton.
Well, Tim, Orazio Fantasia misses out with a shoulder injury. Ruckman Mark Pitnet unable to recover from his finger injury. Jesse Motlop among the extended squad for what would be his first game this year. Todd Goldstein back for the Bombers. Shield and Setterfield in the 26. Redmond misses with a hamstring. Tom Liberatore, a confirmed starter for Friday night footy. Eric Hipwood back from suspension at the Lions. No Paddy Dangerfield for the cautious Cats. Mark Blitzarv's in for Sunday Arvo with a decision still to be made in the ruck. Tom McCartan named for the Swans, while at St Kilda, Max King has overcome his knee concern for an unchanged lineup. Tim?
Thanks, Mitch. We'll speak to you again soon. Also ahead, Bobby Hill grounded at the Pies. We'll tell you how he's pulled up. The State of Origin erupts after a brutal hit. The Aussies shell-shocked in their World Cup opener against Oman, and Alistair Clarkson has made a coaching change. All that coming up, and a little bit more too.
OK, thank you, Tim. We'll see you then. The Energy Minister is changing her tune on Victoria's big gas switch off. Next, what it means for your home. Also ahead on 7 News, take off at last for Boeing's stuttering Starliner. The discovery that's left eczema sufferers feeling salty. Later, a new warning on the dangers of quick fix ADHD treatment. Also hear the version of our national anthem that split the country in two.
And there's more sunshine on the way for Friday. I'll have the full details shortly.
A motorcyclist has died in a crash on the Nepean Highway at Hyatt. It comes as police launch a road blitz ahead of the King's Birthday long weekend.
I'm asking people to be particularly careful this weekend. We will launch Operation Regal at midnight tonight, and it will run through till midnight on Monday night.
New police data shows 40% of accidents happen between noon and 6 p.m. The Premier is changing her tune on Victoria's big gas switch off, greenlighting the first new pipeline project in a decade. The state government now appears to be softening its hardline stance on getting gas appliances out of all Victorian homes.
In regional Victoria, talking up wind power.
Good dairy country.
But the Premier's softening on gas was already in motion.
This is the first production application that has been approved since 2014.
The gas licence approval will allow extraction from an existing gas field near Port Campbell. But even so,
Victoria still faces the very real risk of gas shortfalls in the future.
But it came with an acknowledgement that all homes wouldn't be forced onto gas in the future.
We're focused on supporting those households and businesses who can make the transition to going all electric to do so.
We need to make sure that we continue to have gas for the foreseeable future.
This project blows up Victoria's ambition to have a clean, green, renewable energy future.
The Premier denied that with the opening of a new wind farm in Mortlake and a solar farm in Glenrowan.
This 158 megawatt wind farm will generate enough renewable energy to power 115,000 homes.
Right now, the state government is on track to meet its renewable target of 40% by 2025. But the next hurdle will be reaching 95% over the following decade.
We know that there's not going to be enough wind and solar to replace your lawn when it comes offline in June 2028. So gas has to play that transitional role.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
The World Health Organization has issued an alert after a man tested positive for a new strain of bird flu and died the same day. The 59-year-old was admitted to a hospital in Mexico for fever, shortness of breath, diarrhoea and nausea. The H5N2 strain had been reported in poultry in Mexico, the first recorded human case proving to be fatal. Boeing has finally launched 2 astronauts into space after years of setbacks. The NASA crew is on the way to the International Space Station tonight as the aviation giant looks to take on Elon Musk's SpaceX.
Let's get going. Now let's put some fire in this rocket and let's push it to the heavens.
Roaring to life. A flawless launch from Cape Canaveral, Florida.
And liftoff of Starliner at Atlas V, carrying 2 American heroes.
The rocket racing skywards, carrying the Boeing Starliner and the first humans to travel in it to space.
Sonny and I are honored to share this dream of spaceflight with each and every one of you.
They're the astronauts responsible for testing the spacecraft's safety, a mission that's been plagued with years of technical setbacks and delays, including software glitches and parachute problems.
And we all know that when the going gets tough, and it often does, the tough get going. And you have.
No room for error, with the company already at the centre of controversy over its commercial aircraft issues. The Starliner on track to reach the space station by tomorrow, with Boeing planning to launch more flights by early next year. In the United States, Miley Hogan, 7 News.
A diet high in salt may increase the risk of eczema, according to a new US study. Scientists found just 1 extra gram or half a teaspoon was likely to increase the risk of flare-ups by 22%. Researchers recently discovered excess sodium is stored in the skin, where it may play a role in dermatitis. A Melbourne councillor is in the firing line. Tyra Stowers has more.
Well, Mitch, she's leading a controversial move to ban all police from attending council events. I'll have the latest live next.
Also ahead, why having more friends can lower your risk of heart disease. See the moment a suburban family home turned into a fireball. And the toddler with a tall tale to tell. A Merri-Beck councillor has tried to ban police officers from council buildings. Tyra Stowers is in Brunswick this evening. Tyra, the motion has been broadly condemned.
Well, Mitch, it would have been a first in the country, and the Police Association was left speechless by the move to try and prevent its officers from entering council facilities. Their statement was straight to the point, a simple eye-rolling emoji And while the motion was quashed before it could even go to council, local residents are angry. If Marybeck councillor James Conlon had his way, police would be barred from council-owned facilities and denied community awards.
It's probably one of the worst motions I've seen in the last 16 years being on council.
He's standing firm despite Marybeck's CEO yesterday shutting down his proposed motion, telling 7 News, as a member of the queer community, I don't trust the police as they don't keep us safe, claiming they bash, harass, brutalise and assault queer and trans communities and murder First Nations people in custody.
Councillors should stay in their lane. Worry about the roads and the rubbish collection rather than criticise the Victoria Police.
He's diverting from his what a councillor usually should be working for.
It's a little bit stupid when there's plenty of other causes that need that attention.
Councillor Conlon has also been involved in pro-Palestine activism. He recently brushed aside safety fears raised by a Jewish ratepayer and referred to Zionism as a racist and evil ideology.
The role of a councillor in law is for peace, order and good governance, to make sure the community is together. All this is divisive garbage from James, and it belongs in the bin.
The next council election is at the end of the year. Tyra Stowers, 7 News.
A suburban street in Chicago has been rocked by a deadly explosion that claimed the life of a 77-year-old man. His body was recovered from the rubble after the blast flattened a home. The cause remains under investigation. And a toddler has had a close encounter with a giraffe on a family trip to a drive-through zoo in Texas.
I saw the giraffe kind of digging around right there, and then it just grabbed her and I didn't see her no more.
The giraffe was foraging for food when it accidentally got tangled up with the 2-year-old. Time now for a check on the markets with finance editor Gemma Acton. Gemma, it was a solid day for shareholders.
It was indeed. Every single sector closed today in the green, with the Commonwealth Bank briefly hitting a fresh record high. The Aussie dollar is treading water around 66.6 US cents, while oil is stuck below 80 US dollars after dropping earlier this week. That was on news of more oil production. And Nvidia has overtaken Apple to become the world's second largest company. It is an extraordinary leap for the American chipmaker. At the start of the year, its market value was less than half of Apple's. Its meteoric rise is thanks to feverish excitement around the world over the rollout of artificial intelligence products and services in our daily lives.
No worry. Thank you, Gemma. The last COVID-era plane has finally taken off 4 years after it was stored in the Australian outback. The A330, the first of Cathay Pacific's fleet to arrive at the Alice Springs site, has become the last to leave. The jet was stored for more than 1,400 days in the outback. A new study of 10,000 Australian seniors has found friendship can help reduce the risk of heart disease. According to scientists, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3.
Social interaction not just good for the soul but also for the heart. Scientists watched 10,000 Australians aged over 70 for more than 6 years, finding those in a relationship had a lower risk of developing cardiac disease.
It was 12% for men and 17% lower risk for women, so a slightly greater benefit for women.
It isn't all bad news for singles. For men, having a handful of close relatives they could confide in or regularly playing social games like cards or chess decreased the risk of heart problems by up to 30%. The risk also decreased for women who lived with others or had at least 3 trusted friends.
What we could be doing is prescribing social activities through the medical system.
Lonely hearts in old age aren't the only risk to health. More and more science is showing isolation can trigger everything from obesity to dementia, even premature death.
Being socially active is what's keeping our brain sharp.
Amber Laidler, 7 News.
Doctors are sounding a warning on ADHD treatments. Next, why they're worried and what they want parents to know. Also ahead, a widow face-to-face with the Outback Wrangler in court. Is this advancing our national anthem? Why some Australians aren't rejoicing about this performance. And in sport with Tim, a fresh injury scare at the Magpies. Police have busted a car rebirthing scheme that's resold stolen high-powered Holdens. Detectives raided a property in Narre Warren, seizing 3 stolen V8 Holdens and 20 sets of car keys linked to an earlier burglary. The scheme allegedly involved removing vehicle identification numbers so the performance cars can be sold to unsuspecting buyers. There's a warning for parents tonight about the rise in quick fixes for ADHD. Medical professionals say rushed over-the-phone appointments are often inaccurate, leading to wrong diagnoses and incorrect prescriptions.
Phoebe Wilson struggled to sit still and play with her kids.
It was breaking my heart seeing how I couldn't engage with them.
Eventually, she was diagnosed with ADHD and prescribed medication that changed her life.
About 3 days into medication, my children turned around to me and said, "Hey mummy, you're just so kind." And that was enough.
There are clinics offering to cut that wait time and provide a diagnosis in a week. But specialists caution these quick consults can do more harm than good.
It takes at least 2 hours to do a comprehensive assessment. And if you're making a quick fix assessment in 30 minutes, then really accuracy is something you can't guarantee.
There are quite a lot of interventions that can be done without medication, whether that's through psychology, ADHD coaching.
The use of ADHD medication has more than doubled in the past 5 years. In 2018, 186,000 people had prescriptions. That jumped to 414,000 in 2022. A Senate inquiry last year recommended implementing national guidelines for ADHD prescriptions. The report has sat on the Health Minister's desk for 6 months. He's yet to respond. Lucy Murray, 7 News.
The widow of Outback Wrangler co-star Chris Wilson has faced off with the show's presenter Matt Wright in a Sydney courthouse. She's suing Wright for damages over her husband's death in a 2022 helicopter crash, but has agreed to mediation talks. Danielle Wilson is also suing the Civil Aviation Safety Authority. There's been a mixed reaction to the rendition of Advance Australia Fair at last night's State of Origin. The performance by Australian Idol winner Dylan Wright had critics up in arms for not sticking to the script.
The Australian national anthem for the Origin opener.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice.
But singer Dylan Wright's take is not everyone's cup of tea.
With golden soil.
Players seem to have trouble singing along.
Let us sing.
And today, reactions were mixed.
It just wasn't, the true anthem.
To me, the national anthem is, you've got to treat it with respect.
Yeah, I thought he did a good job.
For many, this is how it should be sung. Last year's performance appeared to have much more buy-in with the players. But when it comes to anthem controversy, nobody does it better than the Americans. Well, with all the controversy over last night's national anthem, maybe it's best we take it to the people and hold auditions for Origin 2.
Australia's long live our gracious Queen.
Whoops, wrong nation.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice,
for we are one and free.
Give him the job. Game 2's yours.
Thank you.
Steve Hart, 7 News.
I hope not. Tim's back with sport. Tim, Alistair Clarkson has revealed the reason behind his latest outburst.
Mitch, the pressure is mounting on the Kangaroos coach. We'll hear from him next. Also, Bobby Hill grounded at the Pies with another injury scare at the club. The Bombers and Blues keeping it in the family ahead of the MCG blockbuster. We'll get the latest from Adelaide Oval as the Tigers prepare to pounce. And oh man, what a catch to stun the Aussies at the World Cup.
Tonight's edition of The Nightly is out now. Australia's only digital newspaper to drop nightly. And it's free, delivered to your pocket every weeknight. Spend your night wisely. Free at thenightly.com.au.
Welcome back. Alistair Clarkson has revealed the latest steps he's taking to temper his tantrums. Returning to Chief Football reporter Mitch Cleary. Mitch, he's having regular sessions with a psychologist.
Well, Tim, it's all part of Clarko's pledge to remove himself from heated situations that could lead to future outbursts. And he's linked the ongoing stress of the Hawthorn racism saga to his swearing last week, which prompted an AFL investigation, one he was later cleared from. That incident forcing a move back to the coach's box starting this weekend against West Coast, the Roos desperately chasing their first win of the year.
Nice and fitting that I just put myself in the box for the remainder of the year and just don't put myself at risk. I know I'm making progress. I'm doing a lot of work with the sports psych and doing a lot of things. You know, there's just so much going on in our lives.
Tonight, Richmond trying to make the most of an under-siege Adelaide, Prestia, Bolton and Taranto all back, confirming they were always resting Dusty before game 300 next week.
That was always part of a bit of management. You know, Dion didn't play last week because of a short break and yeah, a bit of the plan with Dusty as well. We didn't want them to miss the same week. So, yeah, all's tracking pretty well with him.
There's no late changes. Jacob Kazitsky to start forward. Tim?
Thanks, Mitch. Brad Scott's long-time friendship with Michael Voss will go on the line on Sunday night. Both coaches embracing the hype as traditional rivals Essendon and Carlton go head-to-head at the MCG.
Setting the tone for the Kings' birthday clash, the Blues and Bombers are ready to continue their own tradition.
Last year's inaugural Kings' Birthday Eve game was massive, and this promises to be even bigger.
We'll certainly sort of talk about it, the opposition and the rivalry, and we'll take that all in.
92,000 expected to watch on at the MCG, and they'll be witnessing the first time the Mackay brothers go head-to-head.
At times, I think it's almost certain. It'll most likely depend on where on the ground Harry sets up for the majority of it, because we certainly like being in certain spots.
Harry with some handy advice from his coach, who's been through it before. Michael Voss reminiscing on playing against his brother Brett.
It was hard not to take a little personal actually at the start, but you probably got to deal with mum afterwards. But if you can get through that on Monday, then you generally get out the other side okay.
Who knows if it could pan out like the Selwood brothers going head-to-head, or Alan and Glenn Jakovich from the early 90s. Kate Massey, 7 News.
The Pies are playing down a nasty injury scare to Livewire Bobby Hill on a day the coaches talk nursery rhymes, music and sales pitches. It's all in Footy Shorts with Theo Doropoulos.
Well, Tim, it's one of the most important days on the footy calendar. Big Freeze 10 Monday, the Pies and the D's. Now, star Bobby Hill sent a scare through the camp, rolling an ankle late in the session, but should play. Jamie Elliott is back running after a vascular issue. The coach is also bracing for the big bad D's to return.
Yeah, that's not Melbourne. And I think they'd be saying the same. We're anticipating a huff and a puff and blow the house down. Yeah, that's what's coming. We're just going to be ready for that.
Now, the Suns are certainly rising under Damien Hardwick. The coach has an unconventional remedy to cure their road woes.
I've taken over the music selection this week. I reckon we need a bit of death rock or death metal or whatever it's called to get ourselves up and going.
I'd like to see what he goes with. Now, the 15th place Saints are circling North Melbourne's Luke Davies-Uniacke and Fremantle's Andy Brayshaw. Ross proving he's got a post-football career in sales.
Our environment's really important. We'd like to think we give them a lot of time off. We sell Bayside, no better part of Melbourne is there. Seeing the upside, we played finals last year with a lot of young players and we've got some really good senior players committed. I feel like I just put a brochure together for you.
Classic Ross, and a couple of wins have made for a much happier team at Hawthorn. Sam Mitchell's keeping his selection cards very close to his chest ahead of their clash with the Giants.
Probably 2 or 3 guys that are in fitness test sort of mode today. And, I don't think we'll need too many changes. Yeah, yep, it's good. Thanks, guys.
Also, don't forget to buy your Big Freeze beanie, all of course, Tim, for a very, very good cause.
Good on you, Theo. Well done. The State of Origin opener was rocked by a brutal hit in the opening minutes. It left Queensland star Reece Walsh unconscious, with Joseph Suolai sent off and now facing a 4-game ban.
What a sensation. The 6th man in Origin history to be sent off.
Look, I didn't mean it at all. I just went there to go tackle him and accidentally clipped his head. So I hope he's doing all right.
The Blues lost 38-10, their worst ever defeat in Sydney. Game 2 is at the MCG on June 26. Alex de Minaur leaves Roland Garros with a career-high world ranking of 9. The Aussie fell, though, to 4th seed Alexander Zverev in straight sets in the quarterfinals.
I left my heart out there. I did everything I could. It was just wasn't good enough.
It was the furthest de Minaur has gone in a major. The Aussies were left stunned in their T20 World Cup opener.
Oh, what a grab! What a grab that is! That is quite brilliant.
Glenn Maxwell out for a golden duck against Oman. Marcus Stoinis and David Warner each produced half centuries to help the Aussies to 5 for 164. With Pat Cummins not picked, Stoinis did the damage with the ball too, taking 3 wickets in the 39-run win. Crows and Tigers both need a win tonight, but you've got to favour the Crows over there in Adelaide, I think.
Yeah, the home side, I think, and great to see all the coaches and everyone wearing their beanies.
That's right. I'm still trying to work out Craig McRae, the big bad wolf of some strange stuff in footy shorts tonight.
There is indeed. Thank you very much, Tim. Jane Bunn is next with the forecast. And Jane, is there more sunshine tomorrow?
Mitch, there is indeed more sunshine and above average temperatures. I'll have the full details next.
Tomorrow on Sunrise, an exclusive report. Winter school holiday getaway deals, top family destinations for less than $200 a night, and the simple booking tip to save you 30%.
Plus, we could be knocking on your door with $5,000 in Coles online credit. See you in the morning, Melbourne.
Hello again. Today's sunshine was lovely and temperatures rose too. There was a mix of sun and cloud. Bright sunshine at times, a bit of cloud at others. In the sun, it felt quite nice. The beach looked a bit like summer. We rose 3 degrees above the June average, reaching 17 in the city. Cooling now after a beautiful sunset, it's currently 13. Most suburbs reached 16 or 17. Even Mount Dandenong rose to 12. They weren't even close to double figures 2 days ago. Cloud pushes into Gippsland on southeasterly winds, bringing showers tending to steady rain. That's at times in the east. The cloud breaks up as it moves over Melbourne and redevelops as it reaches the west. Northern Victoria had a bit of high cloud moving through, which doesn't produce any wet weather. And thanks to the southeasterly wind direction, temperatures rose to 20 degrees in Wodonga and Yarrawonga. The rain is significant in southeast New South Wales, falls over 100 millimetres. It is still going thanks to a low that has developed off Sydney. Now, this system here is slow moving. While it does come a little further south tomorrow, pushing that heavier rain further south, the heaviest falls don't make it around the corner into Victoria. Meanwhile, a cold front crosses the southwest of the country and there is a strong high pressure system in between us and that front. Significant rain continues over southeast New South Wales. East Gippsland picks up a bit more, 5 to 30 millimetres in the far east. That's mainly on Saturday morning. All of this clears away on Saturday afternoon as the low moves away. Then we look to the west. The cold front does weaken before it reaches us, thanks to that blocking high. But we'll have a burst of showers crossing the southern ranges. It is just a hint of snow only on the highest peaks as it comes through, and the wet weather really doesn't extend into the north. Around the nation tomorrow, cooler but sunny in Brisbane. Up to 50 millimetres of rain in Sydney, gradually easing. Afternoon showers for Canberra. Dry across the south until you get over to a showery Perth. Most of that overnight. It eases during the morning. To Victoria, showers over Gippsland, tending to areas of steady rain in the east. It does dry up as you head west and north. Fog patches to begin the day in the west, lots of sunshine across the north, and warmer than average thanks to those southeasterly winds. Closer in, it is another generally dry one tomorrow. There's the hint of a drizzly shower only about the outer northwest corner there. Otherwise, long sunny breaks again, just a bit of cloud. It looks like a nice Friday. We're heading for another top of 17. Lots of sunshine in the city, mixed with a bit of cloud at times. Do enjoy. To the 8-day outlook, we are back down to 15 on Saturdays. The wind changes direction. It is south to southwesterly. There may be some drizzly showers coming in on Saturday night. As we go into Sunday, that's when our burst of wet weather comes through. The timing now, morning, afternoon and into the evening. And then the next big burst comes in Tuesday, Wednesday. But Monday's great. 17 tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud. Monday's big freeze, not at all frosty, Mitch.
OK, thank you very much, Jane. And that's the way it is this Thursday, the 6th of June. Thanks for your company. We're off to Adelaide next as the Crows take on the Tigers. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.
Stream 7 News live and on demand on 7plus and stay informed on 7news.com.au. Nobody knows news better.